They were the kings of custom motorcycles, turning wrenches into gold on Discovery Channel. But when the cameras stopped rolling, the American chopper stars lost everything. Bankruptcy filings revealed debts in the millions. Lawsuits flew between family members. One son disappeared completely after suing for $250,000. Another fought addiction while his father threw him out. The mansion featured on TV went into foreclosure. The business empire collapsed. Today, they're scattered across the country, and what happened to each of them will shock you. In the early 2000s, there was no figure in reality television more imposing than Paul Teutul Sr. With his trademark silver mustache, massive tattooed biceps, and a voice that seemed to vibrate the very metal beams of his workshop, he was the embodiment of the old school. He didn't just build bikes, he commanded them into existence. Inside the walls of Orange County Choppers, OCC, Sr. stood like a king in a kingdom of chrome and steel. For millions of fans, the appeal was simple: the spectacle of a man who took no nonsense and turned raw iron into rolling art. But beneath the roaring engines and the lucrative sponsorship deals with companies like Intel and GoDaddy, the foundation was cracking. By the time the 2010s rolled around, the king was presiding over an empire built on sand. The fall of Paul Sr. is a masterclass in the dangers of high-overhead lifestyles and the volatility of reality TV fame. By February 2018, the reality of his situation was laid bare in a Chapter 13 bankruptcy filing. This wasn't just a minor financial hiccup, it was a total systemic collapse. Sr. quietly admitted to owing nearly $1,070,800 to a list of almost 50 different creditors. While he claimed assets of roughly $1.9 million, the liquid reality was far grimmer. He was earning approximately $15,000 a month, but spending over $12,600 just to keep the lights on and the creditors at bay. There was no margin for error, and the error had already occurred. The most visible casualty of this financial war was his mansion in Montgomery, New York. This wasn't just a house, it was a character in the show, a symbol of the Teutuls' success story. It featured log cabin aesthetics, vast acreage, and custom garages. Yet in 2019, it went into foreclosure. Sr., who had once hoped to sell the property for nearly $3 million, had to settle for a humbling $1.5 million. To make the deal even remotely attractive to buyers, he had to include his personal tools and even the farm animals on the property. It was a fire sale of a life. His legal woes were equally legendary. In 2017, his business partner Thomas Derbyshire sued him for fraud, alleging that Sr. had squandered a $3 million investment intended for a new television venture. The court papers painted a picture of a man who had lost interest in the work that made him famous. Allegations surfaced that Sr. would delay entire filming crews for a week just to go fishing. He was accused of taking side deals, literally trading company resources for dog food for his girlfriend's animal rescue. By March 2020, Sr. officially abandoned New York, moving his operations to Clearwater, Florida. While he still builds bikes and maintains a YouTube presence at 76, the old-school empire is now a memory, replaced by a Roadhouse museum that clings to the ghosts of 2005. If Paul Sr. was the brute force of OCC, Paul Jr. was its creative soul. Jr. was responsible for the bikes that actually wowed the world, the Black Widow, the Fire Bike, and the intricate theme builds that defined the brand. However, being the son of a king is rarely easy, especially when that king refuses to share the throne. The fracture that defined the show occurred in 2008. In a scene that has been replayed millions of times, a massive argument ended with Paul firing his son on national television. It looked like a ratings stunt, but the fallout was painfully real. Jr. was out of the shop, but he wasn't out of the company. He still owned 20% of Orange County Choppers, and this became the front line of a multi-year legal war. Paul Sr. attempted to force a buyout of Jr.'s shares, using a clause that allowed him to seize ownership. The insult added to the injury was the valuation. Paul's appraiser claimed Jr.'s 20% stake was worth exactly $0. It was a total negation of Jr.'s contribution to the brand. Junior fought back with a ferocity that surprised his father, eventually winning an appeal in 2010 that allowed him to keep his stake. But Junior didn't want to just be a shareholder in a broken dream. He launched Paul Jr. Designs, moving his operations to New Jersey. Without the massive OCC infrastructure, Junior proved his talent was the real product. Big-name brands like Microsoft and Cadillac came calling. He was free, but the Teutul curse of high-end living in a niche market persisted. By March 2018, Junior also filed for Chapter 13 bankruptcy. His debts mirrored his father's, nearly $1.07 million in liabilities, including significant tax debt. Junior's mansion in Montgomery, New York, valued at $1.8 million, became his anchor. Today, he maintains a net worth of roughly $2 million. He survived the war, but the cost was the total destruction of his relationship with the man who taught him to weld.
While the Pauls fought for the spotlight, the people around them were being caught in the crossfire. Mikey Teutul, the lovable jokester, was perhaps the greatest tragedy of the show. While he provided the comic relief, he was privately battling a severe addiction to alcohol. The stress of the family feud proved too much, and Senior eventually kicked him out of the company. Mikey checked into rehab, disappeared from the screen, and faced a series of financial setbacks, including a $250,000 copyright lawsuit over merchandise photos. Today, he has found a quiet peace, selling gourmet pasta sauce and running an art gallery, a far cry from the roaring engines of his youth. Then, there were the craftsmen, Vinny DiMartino and Rick Petco. Vinny, the soft-spoken mechanical genius, walked out in 2007 after feeling undervalued. Senior's cold response, "Everyone's replaceable," haunted the fans. Vinny tried to start his own shop, V-Force Customs, but the 2008 financial crisis killed the market for $100,000 custom bikes. Today, he runs a modest auto repair shop, fixing local cars instead of world-class choppers. Rick Petco was the endurance king, driving 3 hours a day for 13 years to reach the shop. Despite earning $13,000 per episode, he walked away in 2016 to be closer to his family. Now he builds custom knives and wedding bands from a farmhouse, trading the noise of Senior's yelling for the quiet of the Pennsylvania hills. The most surprising story belongs to Daniel Teutul. Unlike his brothers, Daniel stayed off camera. He took over the family's original business, OC Ironworks, in 2004. But in 2007, a bankruptcy trustee accused him and the family of stripping the old company of assets to avoid paying creditors. Daniel was hit with a massive $500,000 fine. While Paul Sr. and Jr. were only fined $50,000 each, Daniel bore the brunt of the legal penalty. For most people, a $500,000 fine would be a death sentence. But Daniel did something his family members rarely did. He put his head down and worked. He spent years fixing the company's reputation and growing it into a steel powerhouse. By 2024, he had expanded the workforce significantly and was responsible for building the actual physical headquarters of OCC. While his brothers were the faces of the brand, Daniel was the one who actually built the walls. Instead of a simple table, let's look at the financial and emotional fallout of the American chopper cast as a survival test. If you were a member of the Teutul Empire, which fate would you have shared based on your financial personality? 1. The high-stakes gambler, the senior path. The symptom, you earn $15,000 a month but spend $16,000. You believe your name is a bank account that never runs dry. The fallout, you file for Chapter 13. You lose your mansion. You move to Florida to sell t-shirts and nostalgia. The lesson, fame is a lease, not a deed. If you don't own the dirt beneath your shop, the bank eventually will. 2. The artist in exile, the junior path. The symptom, you have the talent but you are tied to a toxic partner or parent. You win the legal battle but lose the family. The fallout, you build your own brand, but the overhead of your TV lifestyle nearly drowns you. You survive with a $2 million net worth, but you are constantly looking over your shoulder at the taxman. The lesson, Being right in court doesn't pay the mortgage. Talent needs a business manager, not just a lawyer. 3. The quiet professional, the Vinny and Rick path. The symptom: you do the work, you hate the drama, and you value your time more than the per-episode bonus. The fallout: you walk away before the ship sinks. You might not have $1 million mansion, but you have a local business and a family that actually likes you. Your net worth is $1 million, and it's clean money. The lesson: happiness is found in a 10-minute commute and an honest day's work, not in a Discovery Channel contract. 4. The resilient underdog, the Daniel path. The symptom: you get hit with the biggest fine in the family's history, you are ignored by the cameras. The fallout: you turn a $500,000 disaster into a thriving industrial steel company. You don't need a reality show to prove you're a success. You have the blueprints to the buildings you built. The lesson: the most stable wealth is the kind that doesn't require a microphone. The story of the American Chopper cast is a stark reminder of the reality TV trap. When you turn your life into a product, your life is subject to the laws of demand and supply. In the early 2000s, the demand for Teutul Rage and chrome bikes was infinite, but as the culture shifted and the 2008 crash hit, the supply of money dried up, leaving only the rage behind. Today, Paul Sr. sits in Florida, Jr. sits in New Jersey, and Mikey sits in an art gallery. They're miles apart geographically, but light years apart emotionally. They built bikes that were designed to last a lifetime, but they couldn't build a business or a family that could survive the glare of the spotlight. The engines have gone quiet, the mansions have new owners, and the only thing left of the Orange County Choppers empire is the video footage of a father and son screaming at each other while the world watched them lose it all.